Hey, Austin, how's it going?
What's up, Mason? Here we go again. Happy Thanksgiving. All the things, all the things.
Guys, we are here with Austin Lamson, one of my favorite lender partners. Her and her team down in Santa Barbara do an absolutely incredible job. And we are here for another episode of Meme Busters. Austin picked out a super fun one today, so I'm excited to dive into it.
Oh my gosh, Mason, thank you so much. And not only are you an amazing human, you're amazing on video, you're just such a great realtor. And I love this because when I saw it and we were chatting about it, we actually had a situation where this went, "Meow, meow, meow, meow," right? So what are we talking about? Let me do a little screen share here. You guys have probably seen this, especially as we get into the holidays with signing and money and all the things and credit. If you're in a relationship, one of y'all better have good credit. That's why it's called significant sign if I can't other. Mwah, mwah, mwah. I love this one. This one's been around a little while, and I think first we got to talk about like what is a cosigner, right? Like, do you see these on deals? What do you see kind of popping up in your world, Mason?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's not uncommon at all, especially first-time home buyers to have a cosigner. Home prices on the Central Coast, they're not cheap by any means. So sometimes people need a little bit of help, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But definitely got to make sure you know the ins and outs of being a cosigner because it can be kind of tricky.
Oh, totally, right? So because a co-borrower means you're all in it together. A co-signer, they might not even be on title. They might be on title, they might not, but technically a co-signer doesn't have to be on title. So you don't have to own the property with you, right? And I
Right.
think, what people forget in co-signing is that that debt follows you, right? That debt follows you, especially if it's a house or if it's a car, right? So one of the things that we had happen is we have this just amazing first time home buyer, like the nicest human, super hard worker. And he was renting and he lived with his dad and his brothers. And their whole thing was like, hey, all of us live together. We want to have some long term stability. But the dad had co signed with his dad, AKA our
Right.
client's husband, right? Like,
Right.
remember all that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. 100%.
So what happens when there's a co-signer is let's say you and I bought a property together, right? And I'm co-signing for you. Well, if I can prove that you, the person to whom I co-sign, has been paying that debt on time for 12 months without my assistant, so it's not a joint bank account, right? You're writing the checks directly or you're doing the money orders directly, then we can qualify without it. And so our client and his father were both told that was the case, like by the uncle, right? Like, nope, I'm paying this all directly. Nope, it's not out of my account. Well, it's out of his account, not the account with the uncle, but it turns out he wasn't really paying it, right? He couldn't trace the money. He wasn't paying things on time, right? Because we're not seeing their bank accounts. We just see that it's reported.
Right, of course.
And it had the worst ending where they couldn't prove that the uncle was actually making payments because the guy wasn't. He was having other people's help because, life happens, right? And so they couldn't qualify with the extra debt. So if you can't prove that the person that you've co-signed with is paying the debt, you got to qualify with it, right?
Right.
And that was brutal.
Yeah, that was a really rough one this year. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, this guy just he had worked so hard to get to where he was, to be able to purchase a house, to get all his ducks in a row and everything like that. And it seemed like he just couldn't really get straight answers out of the uncle, and it was a really disheartening situation. I know he was broken because he really wanted that house, so it was definitely a little frustrating and sad for them for sure.
Yeah, totally. And I think that a lot of people are like, oh, I'll just sign, or oh, they'll pay it later, right? We can take credit a little casually. And there is literally something we're trained on in lending, and I know you guys are trained on it in real estate side. It's part of all of our continuing education. It's called a straw buyer. And a straw buyer is when you really buy it for someone else. So an example of like Austin's qualifying for the house, down payments coming from my money, all the things, right? But I'm not really going to live in the property. I'm really buying it for Mason because Mason is in between jobs as a dancer in Vegas. I don't know, whatever, right? Like for whatever the reason,
How
right?
did you know?
Santa told me. Wait, is it too early for Santa jokes? But so with straw buyers, where you're not intending to use that property. We're not talking about co-signing. This is separate. So we see a lot of people like, oh, I just bought that car for my brother. He really pays for it. And you're like, well, that's not co-signing, right? That's a different opportunity. Have you had people approach you in business to ask about that? Like, oh, I'm not really buying it for me. Have you seen that?
I have, yeah, absolutely. You see, people buying apartments for their kids or what have you and stuff like that. Yeah, we've seen that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it's hilarious on this meme, just switching back to this one of, look, if you want to co-sign with someone, great, no problem, right? But we've got to remember that there are a lot of strings attached. There are definitely, you're not just on the hook, right? You can't just pass it off, but there's a lot of opportunity as well. I'll go ahead and stop the share so our faces are gonna get big again, right?
Yeah, and I agree, and that's why it's so important to work with a good lender, to work with a good realtor, is because co-signing can give somebody an opportunity that they wouldn't have, or co-borrowing, whatever that may look like. But you definitely got to know the ins and outs, and you got to work with somebody you trust to know those ins and outs to be able to navigate a transaction safely, so that we don't have something happen like we did earlier this year with that poor buyer. So.
Oh, yeah, it broke my heart. Well, Mason, thank you for being one of the people we trust. Working with you is just such a all, and I love the integrity you present for your clients. I love the dedication. I love the positivity. So we are so grateful to be on your team and looking forward to helping more people in the future too.
Oh, absolutely awesome. Right back at you. You guys are absolutely amazing. Take incredible care of your clients. And I'm thankful this Thanksgiving week for you guys and for the people we work with. Doesn't get much better.
Gobble, gobble. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
All right. Happy Thanksgiving.